a year and a half later, after 2 weeks after I had said, "Okay, God, I hadn't dated anybody. I didn't care. I just knew I was going to be married young. I knew it. All my friends thought I was crazy, but they also knew that it was probably going to happen. I was going to make it happen, whether it was healthy or not. That's what they thought. And
Mm.
so, I broke up with a high school boyfriend my senior year and stayed single for that year and a half. And, I had just said, "Okay, God, I'm done." I moved out. I had found my freedom. I was like, "I'm gonna live my best life with my best girlfriends." And, I just like driving around and getting to make my own decisions. I didn't even rebel that much besides dyeing my hair from blonde to like dark brown. That was like the big rebellion. And so, I spent that year and a half going, where is God? Where is God? Come on, God. I'm not getting any younger, God.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, I was 18, 19 years old. What was I thinking? And I had I had for the first time laid it at his feet and practiced what that looked like. And 2 weeks later was when I get a text from my now best friend, but then we really weren't. We were close, but we had just started getting closer again, from high school. And she had texted me and bluntly said, "I've got a guy that I'm working with at this golf course, and you're going to go on a date with him." And I was like, "Okay, first of all, blind dates are kind of sketchy.
Yeah.
And second of all, like, I just got down with like being single. So can I just enjoy that?" And she was like, "No, you can't." And I knew God was saying, "No, you can't." Like, and thing is she's still but she's not a Christian. She knows I'm, I witnesses all the time. I'm always talking about God to her, but it wasn't like something she prayed over. It was nothing in it. There were a million times being one town apart from small towns that we should have met and we didn't. And 2 weeks, it was 2 weeks after I had laid it at his feet that I get this text.
Mm.
And the second we met and locked eyes, we both knew. And we were together till 3 o'clock in the morning that night
Wow.
and have been together ever since. And that was at 19. And
How you said that, like the second you laid it at God's feet, then he goes and gives this to you because I tell my single friends and just other friends who are really wanting something. I
yes,
remember learning it was like Abraham's story of where he was going to go sacrifice his son and then God at the last second provided the ram so he didn't have to
yes,
sacrifice his son. And so it's like the moment you trust God, you lay it down at God's feet. It's like I just see that happen all the time where he gives you that thing that you wanted so bad the moment you just let it go and trust him with it. So I love that. That's beautiful. But also like everything that God gives us, Satan tries to steal.
yes,
So this happened later on in your marriage as well. So would you want to walk us through that?
absolutely. I mean, gosh, just even dating, he was still Roman Catholic at the time and wasn't saved until 2 weeks before getting engaged. And that whole time that we dated, 2 years that we dated before we got engaged, he questioned. He, took me through the Bible and, "Why do you believe this verse but not this?" And not in a way to tear me down, but truly out of inquisitiveness.
Yeah.
And so, we walked into marriage as I think so many young, especially young Christian couples do. We walk into it thinking, "Okay, God's given me the blessing, and now I'm going to reap what I've sown," right?
Mhm.
No, we are just starting to plant the seeds. And then you have kids on top of it, and you are handed a whole nother set on
Wow.
a silver platter of trials and tribulations. And, um, like I had shared before we started, the verses that God has brought me to the last couple days in Matthew, chapter 12, and I should have written it down. I believe it starts in verse 42 or 43, and it talks about how when you cast out a demon, they go out into the desolate and they try and find another place to go, and when they can't, they return to the host and see that if we haven't filled that space with Jesus, if we haven't filled it with God's love and protection and armor, then it's ready to occupy. It's free to move in. They can go be a squatter. And so they go get 7 friends to come back. And so we get ignorant and think, okay, the battle's done. The test is over. We've stepped into marriage. We're gonna learn together. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be glorious. We're gonna glorify God with everything we do.
Yeah.
And you very quickly learn you're opposite people most of the time, or there's something that comes to light that you realize we need that third cord. And if you don't have that third cord, it is not going to stay together.
That's
And, we've had some ups and downs. I mean, we had twins at 24, and that alone, it was a high risk pregnancy where they had 1 placenta. I delivered at 36 weeks. I had preeclampsia. I needed a blood transfusion after. It was a very scary time, and our marriage suffered greatly. And I thought that was bad. And then in January of 2020, before COVID even started, my health took a very serious decline after I stopped nursing our youngest. And so I have just the short list: endometriosis, PCOS, fibromyalgia, PTSD, CPTSD, ADHD, OCD, depression, anxiety. Um, Fibromyalgia was not diagnosed or unfortunately set off until my health issues began. But of course, anytime there's a role shift in marriage in general, which there's role shifts when you get sick, there's role shifts when you have a baby, there's role shifts when you get a new job. But this was something that we thought we were ready for role shifts. We had done it before twice, when we had the twins and when we had our youngest. We were like, okay, I'm sick, but we're going to get through this. We thought it was going to be, this quick little trial. And it very quickly turned into not. And between the time frame of June 2020 to April of 2021, 2022. Yeah. Wow. April of 20, not even 2 years. I had 7 surgeries. I'm down to 1 ovary. So I can no longer have kids of my own. 2 weeks before I had my hysterectomy, I had a miscarriage. That had been kind of my prayer to God of, if we're meant to have a 4th baby, I'll get pregnant before the surgery. And I did. And so, all of those things put an insane amount of stress and pressure. And then we realized how much trauma I had from childhood.
Yeah.
And then we realized my husband had some childhood trauma as well. And so we started getting into therapy. And when you open those boxes, they can't be closed. When you start choosing healing, you have to commit, or you have to shut the door and turn away and never look back, because it'll eat you alive. It's the biggest fork in the road that will break a marriage if you don't both choose to go down the path of healing. And that's even if only, like I said, initially we thought it was just me that was the broken one. We thought it was just me that needed the help, the healing, the intense healing. And not to say my husband's, he's not having health issues like I do. He doesn't have the level of trauma that I do, but he's been through all of this with me. He does have trauma. He does have things that, he's human. And so we were this close 6 months ago to going those separate ways, to where I had looked up lawyers and I had told him, I can't do this anymore because I'm broken down. I had gotten to the point where I thought God wanted me to just learn how to be alone with my family. No, God wanted me to learn what it meant to truly be set apart in His definition, not mine. It didn't mean you're going to lose friends. Sometimes it does. A lot of times it does. Yeah. And this time it also meant that that Abraham moment, I could possibly lose my marriage too and truly be all alone. And I just remember one day curled up on my bathroom floor with a towel that just happened to be in reach after my shower and just laying in my robe on the ground, using this towel to sob into and going, God, I don't know how much more alone I can get. What do you want from me? I'm not leaving you. I've been obedient. I've been doing what you tell me to do. Why isn't this getting any better? Why aren't you blessing my marriage? And he very clearly answered, because you're not satisfied in being alone with me. You want everything else to satisfy you. You want the marriage to satisfy you. You want the church group to satisfy you, the mom group, the friend group. And all of those have fallen apart, haven't they? And I just sat there like, yeah, obviously they've fallen apart. I have lawyers pulled up on my phone. Yes, they've fallen apart. Everything's gone. I'm gonna have a split house. I was supposed to be the generational cycle breaker. I'm
Yeah.
failing, God. And he said, trust me anyway. Just don't give up on me yet. Don't give up on my promises, because I promised you that this marriage was for you. You knew that the day you stood at that altar, even if Satan tried to attack then too. God promised me on that day that it was going to be my husband and I as one flesh for
Yeah.
the rest of my days,
Oh my
no
goodness.
matter how long they are.